Hello. This week I want to talk about trauma held in our bodies, and I want to talk about grounding through an experience that I had on Sunday. And to me it was a great reminder of how being in our bodies can really help on this journey. Welcome to the Mindfuckery podcast, which is FeedSpot's fifth must listen to podcast on emotional abuse. I'm your host Elizabeth, and in here we explore areas others fear to tread. I'm a woundologist and I have been for over 20 years, working with past life wounds, clearing ancestral trauma and working with this life wounding. Through my own personal journey, I know how much this hurts and how confusing life becomes. So many questions, no real answers. I'm the author of Finding Lily, which I wrote in Greece as my marriage was crumbling around me. The A to Z of emotional abuse followed as I discovered new words and language and phrases that I had no idea existed, and I realised were now my reality. My third book, Divorce Matters, has been written to support you through the divorce process. It's a really important part. You can get the closure you need to heal the emotional wounds, and because your divorce matters are really important as well, it gives you permission to ask for the information you've been told not to ask for. I'm the founder of the Inner Healing Sanctuary and creator of Wound Talking, The Original Wound and Quantum Glow Healing. And I'm on a mission to educate as many people as I can on the effects of trauma in our lives and our children's lives, and healing the wounds of our mothers and our fathers. It stops here, it stops now, it stops with us. So welcome along for the journey of a lifetime. And you are very, very welcome. I want to talk about grounding and how really, really important it is in this journey. But I want to talk about our nervous system. I want to talk about trauma and how these relationships affect us. So on Sunday, I went to a livery. It's a holistic pony centre. And I worked with a woman. We work in a very similar area with healing. I've known of her. I'd never actually met her. So we were on a call together. It was she was doing a talk, and I thought I'd really like to find out more about this. So I booked a session and I went along Sunday morning and worked with the horses. There's so much that came up. But one of the things that was really interesting was grounding. And I'll explain a little bit more as we go on. And what I will do is I'll do a quick exercise. One that you can do standing in the supermarket queue. It's so simple and powerful, you can do it anywhere. So emotionally abusive relationships affect us on every single level. And what happens, and I've spoken about this, I'm not sure if I've spoken about it on a podcast actually, but what happens to us in our bodies through the cycle of abuse, where we are experiencing intermittent reinforcement. And what that means is that 1 minute you're being told how brilliant you are, and then the next minute you're being criticised, and then you're being told how brilliant you are, and you're confused. And it's that sweet and sour, hot and cold experience, and you're not really sure what's going on. And at the beginning of the relationship, that will go on for quite a while. It might be tested in certain times. It might be they are checking in to see how far they can push you. They introduce things like triangulation to create jealousy. And so you come out of these relationships and there's so much going on. Your mind has been tricked into believing the lies. Your gut, which is your internal alert, your brain intuitively told you something was wrong and that you might be in danger, but that was overridden because you were listening to them telling you that you shouldn't listen to your gut and that you've got it all wrong. So you turn that off and you end up in this space and you don't know how to think for yourself. You're flighty like a horse. A horse are predatory animals, and it could be a leaf falling from a tree that can startle them. So your nervous system, much like a horse, is startled. It might be that you hear a sound, it might be a word, it might be a smell, or it might be a movement, and you are on alert all the time. You might have heard things like sticks and stones. This was something my grandmother used to say. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And that's honestly the most untrue piece of information going. Yeah, sticks and stones stones will break your bones. That's completely true. Words will never hurt me. That isn't true. Words run deep and go back to this first 7 to 8 years of life where we hear things that we shouldn't have heard as a child. We might witness things that we shouldn't have witnessed. We might energetically feel things that we shouldn't feel. We might be party to conversations. We might see things that we shouldn't be seeing. That all gets registered. And a small child has no idea whether what they're being told is the truth. They have no idea that they are in an unsafe environment. Words and the way people treat them are teaching them what to believe about themselves. One child might have been the scapegoat, and this is the singling out. So in biblical terms, it was the goat took the blame for the wrongdoings and mistakes of the tribe, and they were sent out into the wilderness. I've recorded a few YouTube videos on this subject, and I will link them in the description. And to talk about the one child that gets blamed for everything, you should know better. There is also the golden child, there is also the invisible child. I'll link them all below. It can be within a family unit that children take it in turns to be the scapegoat and swap roles. And what then happens is a child takes on these beliefs about themselves. They take on the beliefs that they're not good enough. Their self-esteem is on the floor. And it's these children, I believe, that become the empaths. It's these children, I believe, that end up in these abusive relationships. I also started to see patterns where people coming out of these relationships were hanging on because they weren't able to save. Something I experienced as well. They weren't able to save that person. They have been drawn in. The empath is drawn into this relationship and they see something, they witness something, they might mirror something within them. On the other side, it might be that there was a parent that they grew up with that they were unable to save. Now, if they grew up with a covert narcissistic parent, that parent plays the victim. They don't want saving. They just say they do. Carolyn Myers uses a term called leading with the wound. It's the crutch of the wound that the person doesn't want to give up. It's their identity. And if that victim were to heal, who are they? And when you look at the narcissistic personality, these people are empty. They have no identity. They don't know who they are. They were not allowed to create one. And so it's so easy for them to create a character because they're being what other people want them to be because they don't know internally who they are. So words are really, really important. These wounds have been created. They are internal wounds now, and much like a physical wound where you break, like sticks and stones break my bones. Sticks and stones can break. They can bruise. I didn't fall. I tripped during the week and my muscles hurt so badly. I did one of those really silly things where I really wasn't concentrating. I was walking down the stairs and I thought I was at the bottom of the steps and I was either 1 or 2 steps out. And so I had to readjust everything to stop myself. I fell anyway, but that trauma is then held in my body, and words the same. We repeat, like I'm going to say old friends, they're not friends, but we repeat these sayings, we repeat these things we heard. That's because, and we replay the statements that we heard growing up and we take them on as a truth. Now, time is supposed to be a great healer, isn't it? That's what we're told. Time's a healer. Is actually something that I don't believe. I don't believe it is. I believe this wounding, this verbal wounding, these words that we hear, sticks and stones may break our bones, but words will never hurt me. I totally disagree with that. And I believe they are very, very damaging. We replay these words, we replay these sentences, these statements. They're actually held in our body. And these relationships then play into what we've heard. These relationships then, where we might see a red flag and doesn't feel quite right, there's also something else that's running. It's like another program running on a subconscious level. And when they're treating us poorly, we can justify that because we've got a statement somewhere held in our filing cabinet of information, which is our brain, where it's all stored. And we can go off searching for that information. We can go off searching for the time that we did that before. Yep, I've heard that before. Let me go and find that file. Oh, that's it. It was 1999 and I was whatever it was that you were doing. A parent said this to me. A grandparent said this to me. My aunt told me this. My uncle told me this. My school teacher told me this very same thing. So it must be right because they're now telling me this. The cycle of abuse is a manipulation. It leaves us stuck like the horse on alert, sees a leaf and perceives that as danger. And that is what's happening within our bodies. We experience fight, flight, fawn, freeze. Don't underestimate fawning. Don't underestimate the body's ability to protect. We are born to survive. And fawning is a way of talking out of danger. Fawning is experiencing or picking up on that danger. It's seeing someone else about to do that and stepping in and then changing the subject, diverting the conversation, rewording or correcting a conversation or statement. When I work in a somatic way. This is a holistic and therapeutic approach. Work with your body. You tune into your body. You listen to your body. And we track down where that wounding is. And I do the same thing with the statements that you've heard, the same statements that you're repeating, and you might be repeating them on a daily basis. One course I used to run was Let's Build Confidence, and I used to quote Dr. Daniel Amen, and I think it's 40,000 thoughts that go through our head on a daily basis. He uses something called ANTS, automatic negative thoughts, and he's saying, if all our thoughts are negative, what is that doing to us? We're all energy. We are all vibrational. It brings us down to a low vibrational level. When I was out with the horses, I was working with one horse, but there was another one which was his pal. And we were using them as a masculine and feminine energy. And when I was really grounded, I was allowing the feminine energy. The feminine horse came over towards me. There was a few times that she tried to knock me over or to challenge my energy. And what I was doing was grounding. And as she approached me and felt the change in my energy levels, she walked away. It was a really, really interesting process. I was changing my vibration, and we can do that. But like the words, time heals everything, it doesn't heal everything. If you're ruminating, then there's a big wound that needs healing and needs looking at, needs addressing. And that's what I do. As I said, I work in it. It's done in a somatic way that we're looking at where this is held within the body. And I just find it so powerful. I get so many people turn around and say to me, "You've changed my life. I can't believe it was that simple." And it wasn't, and it's not painful. What I do isn't painful. As I said, that our thoughts that we hear, that we learn, that we heard in those crucial first 7 to 8 years of life, they're constant companions. They're like the devil and the angels sitting on your shoulder, telling us not to touch something, or that we're bad in some way, or that we don't deserve something. So Sunday gave me a chance to work on more wounds. I always say, I'm a work in progress, bashing some of these beliefs. And I've spoken about my bipolar story, where I took on this belief for 6 years that I was bipolar. We're all on every spectrum somewhere. We're all on the narcissistic spectrum somewhere. And if we are living in fear and we're living through the fight, flight, fawn, freeze responses, it's likely that our reactions might be higher up on that spectrum when we feel threatened in some way, when we're not standing in our power, when we're not encompassing our queen energy. And I've spoken about the queen so many times. She's the most powerful piece on the board. She can go in any direction, back, front, to the side. The king can't. The king can hardly move. I think he can move one square at a time. It's the queen energy that we need to be vibrating at, stepping into her energy and bashing these thoughts. There's that game. You've got a hammer and I don't know what they are, these things pop up and you have to hit them with the hammer. And that's what we need to do with these thoughts. We need to smash them. We need to challenge them and say, is that true? And that's exactly what I do when I work with people with honest conversations and wound talking. Finding and locating the wound is, to me, the most crucial thing. It's where does it come from? And then who said it to us? What was going on? And then I help people reparent in that moment. It's so, so powerful. I've got some videos I really need to get up onto my channel that have been recorded, where I've done talks and other people's podcasts, and I really need to get them up so people can understand what I do and how powerful it is. And I'm going to show you, because this grounding exercise is something I've done, for 25 years. by working with this horse yesterday and literally seeing her divert from where she was headed, which was to challenge me, and where I was stood in this paddock. So she walked towards me. I was asked, what would you do if someone started to challenge you or to push you out the way? And I said, I need to ground. I grounded, and she literally walked straight past me. Initially, she was walking towards me. It was slow. She wasn't going to do anything more than brush against me, but to challenge my energy. But when I fully stood in my power and I was grounded, as I said, she changed direction. And you can do this if you want to look and challenge these wounds, if you want to heal these wounds, remove them. To me, they're like verrucas. You know, any element left, it's waiting to be triggered again, waiting for the right environment for that trigger. So we're going to do this short exercise. And this can be done in the toilet. It can be done in the supermarket. You can be sat at your desk at work. We're going to have our feet connected to the floor, and we're going to take our focus to the center, to our gut, to our solar plexus, and we're going to link in at that point and see a cord run down from there and spread out, one down each leg, running through the legs, through the knees, down through the ankles and out into the earth. Could be in a 20-story building. It's still going to go down and into the earth. You can see or feel roots coming out at this point if you want, like roots of a tree grounding you into the earth, or you can see the cords go down right into the center of the earth and connect. Then we take our focus back to center and we see the cords going up. Only this cord is one cord going up and out through the crown, through the top of our head, and it goes up into the universe. Now, this can go up into the sun, the masculine energy. It could go up towards the moon and connect to the moon, the feminine energy. Or it can go out and spread out like the roots are spreading out into the ground. This can spread out as an anchor into the universe, like a reversal of the root system. And this is going to ground you in just a few moments. And if you're feeling a little bit wobbly or ungrounded, just take your focus back to that central point at the solar plexus. Connect in, go down into the earth and go up into the universe and connect. And you can stand there for a moment or two. And that's all it takes to reground, to recenter, and to claim back some of that energy. And some of the powerful things that we did yesterday were when I was being pushed around by a horse. You know, when have I been pushed around? When have people, because one or two of them, there was two in this paddock that we were working in, and they'd cross over energies. As I said, one was representing the male, the other was representing the female energy. And when was it people stood in front of me or pushed me out the way? That was one of the things. In fact, that's how it started. And it unearthed so much. But from it, just watching this horse and how she walked towards me, and when I grounded, how she changed direction very slowly. And it was watching that energy shift, feeling it within me, and then seeing how other people reacted, or in this case, how the horse reacted to the change in my vibration. I hope this has helped you in some way this week. Reach out if you need to talk about anything. And as always, I'm sending you loads and loads of love.